I wore this outfit to appeal to the youths. Hi guys, it's McKenna and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to do a discussion video, and I saw this tweet a while ago, and I've been kind of mulling it over in my head for a while, just kind of thinking of everything that I can say on it, and I finally feel like I have all my opinions out for this discussion, or like at least they're sorted so I can talk about them. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to put the tweet on the screen and I'm going to read it as well, but it was tweeted out by Jesper Gayhay, and it says, "Hot take. The entire YA is for teens only and therefore shouldn't have sex or alcohol discourse is highly flawed. Some teens do those things. At the very least, most of us aren't offended by reading adult TM topics, and acting as if teens must be protected is condescending." Why do I have grounds to talk on this topic? Well, I will tell you. I'm a teen, so I can talk on this topic and spread my opinions because I do like to talk about my opinions quite often. First of all, speaking on what's mentioned on the tweet, sex and alcohol, I went through my read and I only specifically looked at contemporary books that did not include sex or alcohol that I could remember from reading it, YA contemporary books, and I only found one book, and that was Nothing Can Possibly Go Wrong by Faith Erin Hicks, which is a graphic novel. But the question isn't on the content of YA books, it is on whether the content of YA books is appropriate for teens. I think only one of my friends in high school, one of my fellow teen friends, has not dealt with sex or alcohol, and I'm not going to speak up myself because that's none of your business, but I only think one person that I know hasn't dealt with one or the other. So going along with the tweet, teens do experience these things, and obviously it might be easier to kind of deal with it if it is put in a literature format that they can kind of digest at their own rate and take their own opinions from there. I feel personally that it is more honest to portray these things in young adult books because it speaks more to the teen experience, even though you're kind of expected to be a sober virgin until you're 21 and married. That's not how it works. And even if the reader in question hasn't dealt with sex or alcohol yet in their own personal life, you know, they're reading a book, they should have a general maturity level to deal with these topics, especially when YA is marketed like 13 plus, 14 plus. The next issue that you kind of get into when saying this is the issue of fantasy books and books set in other worlds. Even thinking of something like the Shadowhunter world, where they have short lifespans, so they get married sooner, or the world in The Cruel Prince, where the High King has a bunch of different children with a bunch of different women all out of wedlock. If we're saying that these things aren't appropriate in contemporary books, where the book is closest to true life, can we really say, yes, this is appropriate, or no, this is not appropriate in a fantasy book or another world book? Because even though our world doesn't run like that, that world runs like that. And also when discussing this, why stop at just sex and booze? There's so many other topics that adults think are too adult for teens, such as LGBT, depression, other mental illnesses, that kind of thing. Should there be no depression and mental illness in books? Should there be no suicide and death? Should there be no LGBT characters? Because adults seem to think that those aren't appropriate topics for teens either. Should there be no characters dealing with trauma such as rape or using drugs just because adults want to shelter adolescent minds? And while we're on that track, should there be no dirty jokes or bad words? The short answer is no. As previously mentioned, teens go through these things in the daily lives, and if you want these books to portray an honest teen experience, these are things that you would include in the books. But the other thing is that YA isn't just for teens. BookTube especially has so many 20+ people talking about YA books and talking about middle grade books. So just because YA is marketed for teens doesn't mean only teens are reading it. And does that mean that an adult that is reading this level can't deal with those topics as well? Let's take a look at books like The Duff, The Exact Opposite of Okay, and The Way I Used to Be. Their plots rely almost solely on some sexual thing that happened at the beginning or in the middle of the plot. But there is so much other content in all of those books that is very important that also make up the story, and that would also help an adolescent if they were going through one of these things. So does that mean that that book isn't appropriate or shouldn't be allowed just because that is the main plot line? And while we're talking about that, what about something like Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, where, you know, the whole story is about Simon coming out as gay, and it has helped so many people through the book and the movie, but because he gets drunk in that one scene, you know, it's not appropriate. I'm not going to give up reading the books that I want to read just because adults think that these topics are too adult. As a teen, you are expected to act like an adult, but when adult topics come up, they don't want you talking about them. They don't want you experiencing them. So what is it? Anyway, so those are my thoughts on whether YA is appropriate for teens or not. Let me know what your opinions are down in the comments below, and let's keep this discussion going. As always, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you sometime for a new one. Bye!